Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Whether you're watching, whether you're listening, we welcome you to the Big Biz Show. We're live inside the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. And as we like to say around these parts, Sully, about ya, a big old howdy to ya.
First of all, nobody says that, ever.
Everybody says it.
Have you ever heard anybody, you say around these parts?
Yeah, define these parts.
Yeah.
Okay, for the record.
I was in San Diego, California.
I was walking through Sheboygan, Wisconsin like 3 weeks ago. Eating some fried cheese curds, and someone said, Costa, from the Big Biz Show, a big old howdy to you. Okay, so that's how we do it. Mary Godwin, Greg Todorov, and of course Sully, who apparently is going deer hunting after the show.
There's a reason I have this. So there's a couple things the reason I have this color hat on. First of all, apparently you're supposed to wear a hat in the sun. And when you grow up in Southern California and when you're sailing and surfing and fishing your whole life.
Yeah.
Because when you're from the East Coast, like Wisconsin, not the East Coast.
Yeah,
sure.
You're
nailed it.
Yeah. when you're from the Middle East, like Chicago. Well, do you realize here in San Diego, anything east of the 5 is the East Coast?
It's the East Coast.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
In fact, there was a bumper sticker that said that for a long time. I was described to me that I had, if I was a red-headed, freckle-faced man with clear freckles, is what I had all over my head, and I had precancerous, they thought I was going to have to slice this part of my head off, which would have been better.
That would have sucked.
So I had a procedure done on Monday, and I thought, the show must go on.
The show must go on.
And all the kids are wearing the rags underneath the hat. So you know what?
Exactly. What's up, yo?
Look at me.
What's up, yo? Let's go on the yard, yo. And all those other things those kids said.
Thank you.
That's why
Trace,
I'm here, brother.
Trace,
I'm here for you.
Trace, what do they say? What do the kids say? Like up in the shop, up in the thing,
They
up in
say
the hood?
that's not it, Chief.
That's
right.
A big hello to a new day trader trio for the day.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There you go. Mark Hattersley on keys. Where Brian Jordan, is he playing with Lenny Kravitz or something in New York City or something? Is he?
Doing his New York thing. So.
He's in New York, touring with some leagues, man. Great to talk to you today. Let's kick off the program with our lead analyst, Howie Font from New York City, as we're talking about. So there's 3 credit reporting bureaus for your own credit, and one of them is TransUnion, one of them is ABC, and the other one's XYZ.
Okay.
So you've got 3 credit reporting agencies, Experian, TransUnion, and I forget the third one for consumer credit. But for business credit, Howard, you've got S&P, Standard & Poor's. You got Moody's, and I think there's one other one also that I can't remember the name of. But
it's Finch.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, we have always been in the U.S. Our credit. In other words, when we put out a U.S.-backed debt instrument, like a bond, okay, like if you buy U.S. savings bonds, or when you hear China's buying our debt, okay, because banks can't. We can't go to the bank and build a road. They don't have enough cash. Okay, so we borrow the money from people who are investing in the debt. So I need $100 million, and I'm going to pay back 10%. Who wants to buy into that and get part of that 10%? That's how a bond works. You're buying into a piece of this thing. So as a result of that, we've always been AAA+++, right, Howie?
Yeah, the first downgrade from S&P, Standard & Poor's, was 2012. We had debt
so
crisis.
pre-2012, we had what they call, you have to bleep this out, gold balls credit.
Wow.
And no longer. So when we come back here in a second, I'm going to tell you why Moody's has downgraded U.S. debt. Our sovereign credit rating just went from a AAA to an A, capital A, 2 small A's, to now a capital A, 2 small A1. We are basically having B+ credit here going on.
Much more to come. Big B Show continues. Keep it here.
Collection agencies calling the U.S. government. Your score just went down to a 680. predictable. And now look at the stock market. Have we gained back everything we thought we lost, Howie, the last couple months? Or we're almost back where we were, right?
No, this Moody stuff on Monday didn't affect the market, but now it's starting to take the wind out of the sails.
But I'm talking about the tariff stuff.
Yeah, no,
backing off on the tariffs, it all came back.
We had Liberation Day, there was a big drop. Things came right back up, and now the market's finding other reasons to have a tantrum. But no, we did shake off the initial announcements of tariffs.
Howard Font, thank you, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow. Awesome. What do we got coming up? I'm excited to talk to Claude Zdanow today.
Mr. Claude,
I talked to him off air yesterday for a while.
Really? The CEO of Onar Holding Corporation, of course, their ticker symbol is ONAR.
He's coming up. He's coming up in the program momentarily, but I want to talk about this credit thing because it's. Do you guys monitor your personal credit?
No.
Not as much as you do.
No.
Yes.
I mean, I do.
I'm a freak about it because, because it's sort of like when you need it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be when you're checking it. And credit scores go from 300 to 850 is the range. Average American has a credit score in the low sixes, unfortunately. Most homeowners have an average credit score above 680. And of course, most folks over the age of 55 have a credit score above 730. Only your parents and your newborns have credit scores of 850. So think of it that way.
That is so true.
But what's interesting is it's almost real time now. And as I'm looking, so I use myfico.com on my app, and I use Identity IQ. And Identity IQ will tell me if someone has run a credit check on me without me knowing or whatever. And then my FICO score will give you your regular FICO score, which is I don't know what FICO stands for. It's a Fair Isaac score is what it means, and it's predictive on how you're going to pay your bills. It's based upon how much of your credit you use, what your credit mix is, how long you've had credit, how many inquiries for new credit, so on and so forth, and that all affects your score. It's interesting because for some home improvement I rarely use credit cards, zero debt. I got a ton of available credit. I remember I used about $6,000 in credit for the backyard to do some stonework because I had a landslide thing happen. $6,000 in credit. 2 days later, my TransUnion score dropped by 8 points. Just like that.
Just because you used it.
Yes. And the reason is because I hadn't been using it. It's better to use it.
They think. Do they think like something's happening with him financially? That's why
they think, they never used it before, so like, what's going on?
Okay.
So if you used your credit wisely and kind of like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, apparently that's better for your credit score. Because I'm thinking, I got all this credit, I don't use it. They think I'm golden. They don't think you're golden. First of all, number one. Number two, they're not making any money off you. Number two.
Right.
So anyway, Claude Zdanow here.
He is the CEO of Onar Holding Corporation. Of course, their ticker symbol ONAR. Claude, great to see you again. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Claude Zdanow, the most handsome guest we have on the program.
Yes.
Hey, buddy, I want to talk about your press release that came out a couple weeks ago about John Bond. We used to have a guy by the name of Keith Moran who wrote a book called Pull, who was literally the guy from the 80s that's doing what your guys do. This is an important pull for you guys. Management's a big thing for you, and the market reacted really nicely to it. Talk about this guy, John Bond, the advertising innovator that is now on your board of directors.
Yeah, look, John joined. I think it's a big testament to us and, a nod to where we're going as a company and the future. I mean, he's a legend in our space. What can you say about him? I mean, started Cushman & Bond. I mean, probably one of the most famous PR and communications agency, ran Fuel. It's sold to MDC Partners, which became Stagwell, which is still around today. So it's just awesome having him be kind of the first of new members on our board. We're working on filling out the rest of the board, and we'll be announcing who some of the other members are soon. And he's just critical for us because he's kind of, I don't want to say old school, but kind of mix old school and new school in the advertising, marketing, and MarTech world. So having him kind of be part of a mentorship for me and for the company and helping us grow, I think is going to be huge for us.
Talk about your labs, the marketing technology, and kind of how you're changing the world there for the folks that haven't heard you before. Because, and by the way, Claude, I know that you knew that I had a procedure on Monday, which is why I'm wearing a hunting hat and a do-rag, because otherwise I look like Fire Marshal Bill, and I wouldn't be able to do the show today. Claude and I talked yesterday. He's like, Sully, you sound kind of loopy. And I was kind of loopy, actually. You could say,
I love it. I think you should keep the look going.
And you could say anything that I said to you yesterday, I wouldn't remember anyway, so that's all right. Hey, talk about for the people who haven't heard you before about what you guys are doing over there, because it's pretty innovative in terms of what you guys call a marketing technology lab is what you guys are really up to.
Yeah. We help businesses at Onar and our subsidiary agencies generate revenue online, right? And we're focused on middle market companies doing $1 to $1 billion in revenue. And as part of everything we do, technology is at the forefront. And we have, of course, leveraging AI and different technology that exists, but we're also doing a lot of really interesting stuff with data, AI, and technology and developing some of our own tools. And we've been doing this since kind of the inception of the company, since I joined, and we continue to invest in that. And even as we look to make acquisitions, we're really focused on companies that we can acquire that can have that technology. And the reason for that, the why, is because once we figure out a process, a way of doing something that we can kind of leverage technology to do it better, we're then starting to try to commercialize those products and basically offer them as their own standalone suites that any business user could use, right? And so we launched Onar Labs with that aspiration, with that being our long tail focus on what we're doing. We have a first product out right now, which is called Cortex, which is basically predictive analytics and the ability to basically do spend management within plus or minus 10%. So basically,
now what does that mean exactly? Because that sounds to me like with you, because remember HNC Software originally did the predictive technology to kind of turned into what Amazon's doing now in terms of serving us products on our apps and stuff. Like when you talk about predictive technology and marketing and advertising, what does that mean?
Well, think about it. Nowadays, advertising and marketing is about having a sniper rifle to find the ideal customer. It's not a creepy thing. It's just, hey, we know you like baseball, so if someone's selling, something related to baseball, we want to get to those people and not bother the other people, right? And so on our side of things, a predictive really means, hey, we can tell you within a very, very small percentage how you spend money and what the return on investment of that money will be before you spend it, right? Based on industry category, who your target audience is, and a number of other things, right? So that is very great for a business owner, right? Being able to measure and of any size, but really being able to say, hey, look, we're going to go invest dollars, we're going to go spend money, and I should know pretty well based on how much I'm spending, what I think I'm going to return on that based on what I'm selling my product for, what the costs of the keywords of the ads you're running are, and the whole kind of nuts that come together to put that together.
And Claude, what mediums are we talking about with that?
With that, we're really talking about digital ecosystem, right? So that's anywhere you can see an advertisement in the digital world. Of course, Meta with Facebook, Instagram, Google, those are your probably your largest, what we call walled gardens in our industry, but your largest platforms that we're talking about. But it extends beyond that, right? We run advertisements and marketing campaigns anywhere that you can do an advertisement, from digital billboards all the way through retail media, Amazon, Walmart, you name it. And of course, obviously your traditional places like we talked about.
It's interesting. I was a copywriter for Chiat Day when I was a young man, and I see your ad week frame behind you, and you have ad agencies, as you know, BBDO and Ogilvy and Mather and Chiat Day and stuff. All those standard Madison Avenue ad agencies. How does you young punks coming into town, how do you change all those guys? Are those agencies still, because you are serving the digital agencies, you are a digital agency, and you're serving the infrastructure behind all of it. How does that affect traditional advertising these days, especially?
Look, there's a place for everybody. The advertising and digital-related ecosystem is a $1.6 trillion market and only continues to grow and evolve now that AI is part of that, right? The traditional holding companies are always going to have a place to play because they're operating on a global scale with your Fortune 100, focused on, if you're Coca-Cola, you need one of those big holding companies to be able to really have that kind of omni-channel presence. It's a much different sort of operation. We're a little bit different, right? We're building a solution for a part of the market that transparently is underserved, the middle market, right? And that's your fast growing or even just growth stage, kind of companies doing $10 million in revenue to a few $100 million in revenue, right? And those companies, they don't necessarily need custom. They don't necessarily need global. They need marketing and advertising that works, that helps them generate revenue, and it's catered and designed for them. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create products and services that serve that particular part of the market.
Hey, one last question for let's out here. You and I were talking offline about potentially, and I know you're a CEO of a public company. We were talking about uplisting to NASDAQ, and you talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Is this something that gives us access to capital and more acquisitions and using stock for currency? Is that the reason? Because you guys are you're looking pretty good where you're at right now. But what would be the reason for something like that?
What I like to say, it's kind of going from the minor leagues to the major leagues, right? And you just get more airtime, more people seeing what you're doing, right? And that's the difference of being on NASDAQ. Where we currently trade on OTCQB, obviously we're audited. We have all the things that a normal public company would have.
Time to move up, right?
Yeah, we want to get to the place where we can step up to the level where, your average retail investor can be part of our story and be part of what we're doing.
But when you do and you go ring that bell, I'm going to give you one of my hats here.
There we go.
You get an orange
I
hat.
hope they make it in big head size.
Claude Zdanow, CEO, Onar Holding Corporation, ticker symbol ONAR. All right, keep it here. There is much more to come with this here Big Biz Show in these here parts. Back after this.
And by these parts, he means that's where his barstool's sitting.